the Boston Celtics went on a 16-3 playoff run, landing them their 18th championship.
We did it!
Although they won in dominating fashion, there are still question marks on how they got there, which also brings up,
can this Boston Celtics team be a dynasty?
To answer all these questions, we gotta unpack the Boston Celtics' dominant playoff run, starting off with the last 3 games of the NBA Finals. Game 3, a Celtics victory. Game 4, a Mavericks victory. And Game 5, a dominating Celtics victory.
Yeah, Game 3, let's just start off there. It feels like it's been a while now, but we're not going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks right now, but they got Luka rattled, right? To the point where he got fouled out, constantly complaining to the refs. Again, we'll keep that for later. They went into Dallas, and it was just like it
was kind of a similar story, I would describe it as, in terms of, they closed. They went on that third quarter run.
Yeah.
Right? The one thing Celtics did in this series overall was close out quarters really, really, really well, because that's when they blow open the games. They did that in Game 1 and 2. They did that Game 3, and especially in the end of the third quarter, which got them to a 20-point lead. And they did that in Game 5 again. Right?
Yeah.
But the difference in Game 3 was that Kyrie Irving had a great game and was able to spark some sort of comeback. Obviously, couldn't complete it. But overall, top to bottom, Celtics team, overall roster was just flat out better. They have the better team. Again, they have 6 guys that could be all-stars this year, essentially, including Uncle Al, who finally got his NBA title. But flat out, I think just the Celtics, Game 4, we're not even going to talk about Celtics Game 4 because there's no real point of it. Right, it was
just like, oh yeah, we want to win at home.
That's
what it felt like.
That's what it is, probably.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I feel like the Panthers in the NHL are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But then in Game 5, they come out. They want to win in front of their home fans. They did that. Absolute amazing crowd, amazing atmosphere for the Boston Celtics to win. But to unpack this whole series, because I think it's kind of been very similar in terms of
Game 5.
They closed out quarters really well.
Game 5 was when I think their 3-point shot went off. To the point where they can't get the comeback. Game 3, that's why I was struggling. I forgot when the comeback game was. It was Game 3 where Dallas fell short of the comeback, aka Luka getting fouled out and all that stuff. It's just like you said, the better team won overall. The best starting 5 plus benchman combo in the league by far. And there's they finished 16-3 in the playoffs, 80-12 or.
Overall
80
record.
and 21, sorry, overall.
80, yeah.
And then that's the second most in their franchise history. A dominating run, right? And obviously, a lot of people are going to look at it. There's no point unpacking the playoffs more from the Boston Celtics side of things. 4-1.
Or the finals, you mean?
Yeah. But 4-1, 4-1, 4-0, which could have been something different, but let's be real, they probably would have still won the series against the Pacers, and 4-1 again. So, I was looking a little bit of some research, and I'm not gonna. Okay, so obviously, is this the most dominating run in NBA history? No. Is this the most dominant season in NBA history? No. Because obviously, on top of my head comes the 15-1 Lakers. Because keep in mind they play a best 3 out of 5 first round, which is why we were a little confused.
15-1.
Yeah. Warriors went 16-1 with the first year with Kevin Durant.
That was 2017, I believe.
2016-17 season.
Yeah.
And the Bulls went 15-2 in 1990-1991. The year the Bulls went 72-10. That was 95-96, right?
I believe, yeah.
Then they went 15-3. So if that's the case, that's probably the most dominating season in NBA history.
When you're looking at this, right, when you talk about dominance, when you're looking at all the numbers and all that stuff, the Celtics had a really dominant season. From day one of the regular season, too. Not just the day one of the playoffs, right? But when you're looking at what you actually watched and what the stories happened in the playoffs, there's no fault to the Celtics. It just situations just played in their favor. And then again, you are the 1 seed, you get rewarded. You worked hard in the regular season, and they got a little bit of luck for that as well. Luck is not luck, right? It just falls into people that kind of actually work.
Injuries are part of the game,
right? And injuries are part of the game. And the Celtics were they try in the regular season. Right? Some teams don't try in the regular season. It's been karma for the Clippers.
AKA my Lakers.
All these years, right? And then obviously your Lakers. But the Celtics tried. They got a little bit luck on their side. And they got an easy path to the finals. But you still had to show up and win games.
If they
showed up and win games.
If they lost games, it would have been even more shame. It would have been more...
Yeah, 100%.
Punjab be besti, right?
Besti hogi, yeah.
Right? So... It's yeah, like listen, you play who you play in front of. No one's gonna say shit about the 2015 Warriors when Kyrie and K Love went down.
Yeah.
No one's gonna say shit to your finals when KD and Clay ended up going down. Really, haters will come out and say it. That's
Yeah.
it, right? Outside of that, this isn't like there was an absolute ref abomination towards the Celtics, like which was clear cut. You could see there wasn't really
No.
right.
Nothing.
Refing was like, as good as it gets, as bad as it gets. That it was just normal.
There's no good refing.
Right.
It's just refing and then bad refing.
Yeah,
And that's just
right.
how it is.
Obviously, Luka has his opinion after Game 3, but yeah, at the end of the day, that regular season, like by far, like what? I'm gonna quickly check. I think weren't they like 15 games clear? Not even 15. Like
They were just clear.
in
on
the end of the
everything.
regular season,
I don't know about overall league, but like they're like upwards of 15 and definitely in the East.
14 games clear in their division. Sorry, overall record, they were. Why doesn't it say it here properly? Okay, I'm gonna go conference.
Can't do math.
14 games clear over the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then with the OKC mix in there, 57, I would say around 7 to 10-ish.
Yeah.
Quick
So
math in my head.
again, like
Still dominating.
flat out from regular season, game 1 of the regular season, Celtics were the best team in the NBA, and now they've capped that off with a NBA trophy. And overall, shout out to our cousin. You know, she's gonna be,
Sister-in-law.
yeah, she's gonna rip into us, but because we hate the Celtics, and also a lot of the family do hate the Celtics. But yeah, shout out to her.
No, listen. Okay, I'm gonna stay. Yeah,
But-
shout out to her for you get
Your
to
team won.
celebrate you.
Your team won.
at
You
the end of the
celebrate.
day.
Yeah, you gotta celebrate.
Listen,
we can't
I'm
talk
a
shit.
Laker fan. I just hate the Celtics. You're a Raptor fan. You just hate Boston sports in
I
general.
hate Boston in general. Yeah.
But the reason why, like, listen, I don't want the Celtics to have success because of the rivalry with the Lakers now, because the Lakers are now one NBA Finals trophy behind now. The thing is, like, I'm happy for Jason Tatum. Like, we had that debate. By the way, shout out to you guys for making that video pretty good. Make sure you guys check that video if you haven't, where we dropped in one of our previous episodes, but we dropped the clip of
Tatum or Luka.
who needs it more.
Who needs it more?
Obviously, I said Tatum. You said Luka. Comments went off a little bit, and they said Tatum.
They said agree to Tatum.
So happy
Tatum
with
got
them.
it done.
Jaylen Brown, same thing. There's always talks. Break them up. Is that the break? Do we break them up?
They
Can
got
they
it.
ever win a title?
They got it done.
And on top of that, you said Al Horford, right?
Al Horford's the biggest
like
one.
the best, one of the best vets in the league, and still an impactful player. Kristaps Porzingis with all the injuries. Who would have thought it was him instead of Luka getting a title first?
Drew Holiday.
And Drew Holiday,
And then googly eyed
Milwaukee,
Derek White.
Yeah, Drew Holiday. I'm a huge Drew Holiday fan.
Yeah.
You know this already.
And then
I
Derek.
still hate the fact Milwaukee traded him because we knew Portland would have just sent him off to the best.
Yeah. And then Derek White again, mini Drew Holiday in terms of how he plays as well.
Yeah,
But overall, yeah, like we're talking about the players. Let's talk about the players a little bit. Let's comment quickly on the Finals MVP. And
Were you
personally,
surprised?
I would have had it Jaylen Brown from like if I was looking at the overall series.
It is Jaylen Brown, by the way.
It is Jaylen Brown, but in terms of how Jason Tatum played Game 5, I thought they could have given it to Tatum. But personally, I would have gave it to Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown is the one who got it. And shout out to him for shouting out Tatum as well. You know, being that they are partners in crime and they deserve it together.
Before I give you my thoughts, last year when we started our podcast and we said we're having that Jamal Murray debate, right? In that same debate, we mentioned Jason Tatum's a clear one of the team and Jaylen Brown is a 2. Is that officially changed to 1A and 1B? Because the finals trophy.
Okay, I'll say this much. This is more of a 1A and 1B than the Jamal Murray and Jokic one. For me personally.
We're not going to get into that
yeah,
because we already know
that already happened a year ago now,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But yeah, no, like, here's Jaylen Brown's story from last year, right? They forced a game 7. Like I'm going like to the Eastern Conference. They forced a game 7 after being down 0-3 to the Heat. Jason Tatum goes down. Who are you gonna look to? Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown said, when Tatum went out, I failed the team. Essentially. Went up, yeah, he's the highest paid player, overpaid, all that chance, can't go left. He fixed that all that in the offseason. He fixed his turnovers and ball handling, which was a big issue last year. He fixed his ability to go left, which he couldn't go last year. And now he's making that contract look worth it because now he is come back. He's an NBA champion.
Finals MVP.
He's on the superstardom realm right now because that's the type of basketball he played this year.
Yeah.
And you could argue Jaylen Brown is the best player on this team now, which before that wasn't a conversation in years past.
Obviously, superstardom is a stretch.
I'm talking about like he played. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but I'm saying he played superstar level ball this year.
I agree with that because it's not
say.
just the offensive side of the thing.
Yeah.
His defensive impact was amazing. Right?
100%.
We see that in the past with the flashes on Pascal Siakam in the bubble. But even here against Pascal Siakam too, even though Pascal did his thing, Luka Doncic, like I said, was rattled. Right? Constantly complaining to the refs. We'll save the Dallas talk in a second here.
And it's not like Luka played terribly.
Yeah.
Luka had his moment. Luka had his games. And like he wasn't terrible in games 1 and 2.
But him, like he shot.
Like game 5 was his only bad game, I would say.
Yeah. But like Jaylen Brown said, they did a whole good team effort to figure it out, but he made it a mission to make it hard for Luka. Right?
That's all you could do.
Which is like,
That's all you could do.
Yeah.
That's all you could legit do. Same with Kyrie Irving. That's all you could do. And they made it tough.
Well, Kyrie Irving also had the Boston crowd on his ass.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of...
That's the games he struggled in. So
yeah, he only struggled in the Boston games.
Yeah, no, like finals MVP, I would have voted for Jaylen Brown because of also the defensive impact. Mainly, I'm not saying Jason Tatum did not deserve it. Yes, he may not have had the greatest game 1 and okay game 2, but as the games went on, he became. You shouted it out when we talked about game 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals. His playmaking, he elevated a little bit more. He was more smart with the ball.
Same with Tatum.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Tatum,
yeah. I'm talking about Tatum here.
Yeah.
And then
kind of did for
Jaylen Brown did the same thing too. But at the end of the day, like Tatum, like people were saying, oh yeah, he stopped padding for it in the final game, which is why your point was like, But no,
recency bias.
It wasn't like it was. It was still somewhat of a debate. I want to say that. It wasn't easy. Jaylen Brown. Like Jaylen Brown would have not been robbed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because at the end of the day, your best player still put up the buckets, right? 30 in game 3. Struggled in game 4. Don't get me wrong, but everybody in Boston did. And then game 5, he was out there playmaking.
Another 30 ball.
Yeah. So
and I think a 12 assist, something like that. Yeah. Double digit assist.
So yeah, at the end of the day, like a lot of factors. Joe Mazzulla is now the 6th coach in NBA history to under 35 to have an NBA title. They did this. Yeah, at the so I guess you want to put this as the all-time greatest like performance because you got to still factor in that they went up against injured teams up until the final.
But yeah, so when we're talking about dominance, right? That's the word here. And when you look at dominance, it's not just numbers, it's how you perform on the court. Do you give teams the opportunity to come back? Can you just blow away teams just in 3 quarters? Don't give them any hope that they honestly borderline make them hate basketball, essentially. That's what dominance is. Right? And they showed more of that dominance in the finals, but they lacked that dominance in rounds 1, 2, and 3, in my opinion. Because they blew out the Mavericks in games 1 and 2 and in game 5, right? Whereas the Pacers, honestly,
they had to come back.
They had to come back, and it was a very close 4-0 series for what it was actually supposed to be, right? Like Celtics were the better team. Don't get me wrong, but it was like a very tight 4-0 series for some reason, and it shouldn't to be, right? Especially when Halliburton goes out. Same with the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers went a little bit different. Like they had the blowout, but they allowed the Cavs to make that run to make it a little bit closer than it actually really was.
Yeah.
But again, they didn't make them hate basketball. They didn't end the game in 3 quarters type of thing, or 3.5 quarters. So when you're looking at that definition and like actually watching the games, they're definitely not up there in terms of one of the most dominant.
Even if you're a casual fan, you're just looking at records off.
Just looking at numbers and stuff. It's very dominant performance. Don't get me wrong.
They're 6-3. Don't get me wrong. They're like in the top whatever half of this list. A lot of these guys are also the 1990s, 80s, whatever, right? 70s Bucks. But dominant for me, it's that 15-1 Laker run in 2001 where Allen Iverson is just being, what's the word? Lauded for, I guess that's the word. Allen Iverson is being heavily praised for just even winning 1 game against that Laker team. That's how dominant that Shaq and Kobe Lakers were when they started their treble. Not treble. Their
three-peat.
Three-peat.
When it comes to dominance, right? Like when you're
the Warriors.
Like it's like the Warriors year. Like
everybody knew they were gonna win.
Everybody knew they were gonna win from the start.
Yeah.
And the Celtics had that buzz, but then Milwaukee was still in the conversation, especially in the East. And obviously you had the Western teams, which is quite a few. Like the Nuggets and Clippers and honestly these Mavericks as well. But overall, when you could just see the fan base is like, oh shit, we're playing the Warriors now. It's just over. Like there was just no hope for those teams, and that was 15-1, right? Record or 16-1.
They're 16-1. Lakers are 15-1.
Yeah, so like that. I'm not saying it's because 16-1. I'm just saying it's because the games the games are close in the.
I'm gonna cut you off
decently.
Here. Let me cut you off here.
Yeah,
I was talking to Nick Shook through his Twitch, right?
Yeah,
and he was saying like he didn't think the ball after even the Cleveland series because Nick's from Cleveland. He didn't feel confident in the Celtics to be the favorite in the finals before even the Mavericks got there.
Yeah,
right. Because as a Laker fan, even though as much as they tortured my Lakers, the Nuggets probably would have given them a much better fight than what the Mavericks had, in my opinion.
When you're going into the playoffs, right? It was clear that the Shaq and Kobe Lakers were going to win. It was clear that the KD, Curry Warriors were going to win.
MJ Bulls
were going to win, right? With the Celtics, right? There was still conversation of like, are they really the best team?
Are they a regular season team like those?
Or are they only a regular season? Because at the end of the day, like they already built that narrative themselves because they got eliminated in the playoffs so
one
many
NBA
times.
Finals appearance before this, and every outside of I think one first round exit, one second round exit, and then the rest for conference finals.
Yeah, so
and Jason Tatum
didn't get the job done.
Years.
Essentially, they couldn't get the job done, and that's kind of probably why it was knocked down. But like, if you're telling me, this was the first time the Celtics, did this, or like the second time, say it was just a Mazzulla tenure. Don't forget about the Tatum tenure. Say it was just a Mazzulla tenure, which was the last 2 years, conference final, and an NBA championship. You're like, okay, I know these guys go in the bag, especially when you add Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis in the offseason. You're like, these are dominant. Then people will look at it differently. But when you're including every year of Tatum and Brown, which was like, these guys are just regular season
7-8
players.
years of them.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what kind of like knocked them and probably ruined our perspective on the Celtics. But overall, if that wasn't in our picture and ingrained in our mind already, I think people will have a much different conversation that this was a best squad.
It changes. It changes though when you said it earlier. When you add Drew Holiday,
that's when it changed.
In many people's eyes, the best defender in the league.
Somehow doesn't have a deep boy.
And then you add Kristaps Porzingis from Washington, where he had a all-star caliber year as well, right? So that changes a lot of things. Marcus Smart is probably kicking himself like, what the hell, man? But
he was the issue.
So like that's where, before we end off this conversation and go to the Mavericks, that's where you gotta give a lot of credit to the Boston Celtics organization. In this case, Brad Stevens, but their history in the past. I forgot who was it before. Who was their previous guy who's in Utah right now?
Before was Hardy?
No. Hardy's a coach for Utah. He was also a Blue Jays player too.
Bro, I forgot his name.
Can you Google it?
I can't Google it.
Here. But just type in Utah like front office or something. You'll find out. Oh, okay. I was on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot it. But no, this is the same. Danny Ainge. So this is the franchise that won a championship with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Rondo, and all these guys. Flipped them still. Like 4 years later, and obviously I blame the Brooklyn Nets for this / Philadelphia later on, but mainly the Brooklyn Nets, which is why the rule came in where you cannot trade back-to-back draft picks anymore. It was because of this this Tatum Brown draft picks. They did that, so they have loyalty. Don't get me wrong. Like Larry Bird was always a Celtic, Russell and all these guys were always Celtic.
But they found an opportunity to maximize the return of these guys, and they did that brilliantly.
And that return got them your current champions.
Jason Tatum,
and then on top of that, they didn't stay complacent. Marcus Smart is your heart and soul. How often do you trade a Marcus Smart type player?
When you lose from a conference finals.
But I'm just saying, like, how often do teams do that? They flipped them, and in my opinion, got a better option in Drew Holiday. It wasn't obviously in that trade directly.
It was Kristaps
Porzingis. But and then you elevated Marcus Smart somehow after getting Kristaps Porzingis to Drew Holiday, right? Who's a better offensive player, and in my opinion, still slightly better defensive player overall.
Yeah,
but
still overall better player.
Overall, like, and then you have like the rest of your role players bought in. Like you make a trade for Derek White.
That was a couple years ago. Yeah,
and then on top of that, guys like Peyton Pritchard who wanted out bought in. You got Sam Hauser, man. Guys like these guys coming in and bought in. Xavier Tillman gave some decent minutes when Porzingis was injured for Game 3, I believe.
And so he played in Game 4.
He played in 4 and 5, right? So, as a franchise, like like obviously as a Laker fan, I'm jealous a little bit because we're trying to chase the big name sometimes, or we're trying to do this sometimes.
No, the Celtics make a squad, right? That's what they have done well, and that's what Brad Stevens has done well, right? And when they find an opportunity to get better, it's not necessarily adding a star; it's just adding what's missing.
Yeah.
And what was missing for these guys was a big man, Porzingis. But then, what else was missing? A point guard, a guy who could handle the ball, because Jaylen Brown couldn't do it. Marcus Smart barely could do it, and Tatum couldn't do it, right? Someone to facilitate the offense. They got one of the best defensive point guards who could handle the ball in Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Right? So they found that opportunity to pounce, and they got the opportunity and they pounced on it, essentially. And that's all credit goes to the front office and Brad Stevens and all these guys, and the credit goes to Joe Mazzulla for bouncing back and learning from his mistakes last year, calling timeouts when he needs to call timeouts and all that stuff. But that all of this builds up to one question.
Okay, go for that question.
Yeah. And that question is, can this Celtic squad become a dynasty?
So can they? That's a yes. Will they?
We don't.
I think the parity is too much that it's tough. Because we haven't had repeat champions since the Warriors in 16, 17, and 17, 18.
Here's my definition, I would say. In the next 5 years, including this one now, so in the next 4 years, 5 years total, I think to be a dynasty, you have to win at least 3 times, and one of them must be a repeat. I think that's a dynasty.
So
for me,
not what the
least.
Blackhawks did, essentially.
Huh?
Not the Blackhawks, but kind of that. Because the Blackhawks went every other year, right?
That's fair.
They went 3 and 6.
I will still consider that 3 and 6 is still.
Because I consider that a dynasty.
I'll consider that, but I'm talking about, like, if you're like a clear cut bona fide, that's what's gonna.
They have the.
If you win 3 out of the next 5 years and one of them's a repeat, that's like a bona fide all time.
So
team.
like essentially what the Warriors
like
did.
that team's gonna be on 2K.
Yeah.
Right, and those those all time teams. Yeah,
or
like
classic.
A guaranteed
team,
will be on 2K. Those classic.
So
teams.
can they? Yes. Do they have the potential to? Yes. Because they have, again, I don't know. We're doing this on the top of our head.
We don't know if there's any like free agents or anything.
Contract situations right now, but I know they locked up Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis.
Jaylen Brown's been locked up.
I think Tatum
will get locked up, right?
I don't know what Derek White's situation
Unless
is.
Jason Tatum's really jealous that he didn't win Finals MVP. And
that's what I was going to ask you that question.
That's
classic media drama. Bring in like, oh yeah, Jason Tatum's pissed. He wants to be
pissed.
a Laker now because of Kobe or anything like that.
No, not that. It will be just because
I'm just saying in general.
Finals MVP, he didn't win.
Yeah.
Now what people think is Jaylen Brown.
Now the media is going to be, is it Jaylen Brown the best player on the
team?
team? Listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to just answer that very quickly. That's stupid. Iguodala got it the first year. That does not mean he was the guy over Steph Curry or even Kevin Durant when he came in. Okay, so
but
back to this question.
But Jaylen Brown does have the case. Right?
He does have a slight. He has a better case than Iguodala.
Iguodala never had that case.
I get that, but it's
dynasty
still, for me, it's still Tatum.
Dynasty.
Wise,
so the most recent one we had is the Warriors.
Yeah,
right. That's the closest. You could get to it.
Before that, it might have been the Lakers. Either the three-peat there or the two in the row.
No, you could also throw in the Spurs. Like they won like almost every other year as well, essentially in the 2000s.
Early 2000s, yeah.
Early 2000s, yeah.
No, listen. For me, will they? No, because the parity is too tight. I'm not saying it because of what Embiid said, but at the end of the day, you also look at the injuries. Giannis was out. I'm not saying you would have. It would have easy Bucks would have beaten these guys. I'm not saying that, but
we had the Eastern Conference Finals booked.
Yeah,
right. It was already booked
from the beginning.
Yeah,
we called it from the beginning.
We're like, this is the series. This is what everyone's gonna know.
Once the Nuggets went out, we're like, the title's done.
We're like, this is what everyone's gonna wait for.
Yeah,
right. And yeah, that's true. Once the Nuggets went out, the Celtics had the easiest path.
They have potential, but a lot of teams have that potential as well.
So when you're looking at roster wise and the fit, like all 5, 6 players, they have their main 6 players, right? But it's also gonna come to a time where you potentially might have to, replace Al Horford, and
he's old.
And you have to might replace Derek White, who's probably gonna deserve a bag at the end. He deserves a bag unless he takes a pay cut and like really.
Unless he signed a pay cut contract with the Spurs
lock in,
already.
right? Like, but overall, like right now, when you're looking at dynasty, you gotta look at roster construction and how they're gonna figure this shit out 5 years, 4 years ahead of time as well if they want to still be in the conversation. And the biggest questions right now are Derek White and Al Horford, right? 2 critical pieces to their core 6 at the end of the day. Like, that's how good they are. They have a core 6 essentially. But overall, when you're looking at the roster right now, they definitely have the full potential to do it. And at this moment, if everything does stay the same in free agency, for me, the Celtics are the favorites to win the championship.
They're the favorites next year because Derek White is $20 million there. Then he's a UFA the year after.
Yeah, so that's when it comes into conversation. So they have the chance of doing a repeat, full.
Depends on how much in the apron they are of the caps thing, the new cap rules, and
Yeah.
how much luxury tax they want to pay and all that stuff as
But
well.
the, like full blown like on the roster, like if you're looking at everything, they have the defense, they have, they could play small ball, they have the centers to play, big, right? They have the playmaking, they have the shooting, and right now in this playoff run, they showed that they could attack the rim as well, which is one of their big weaknesses. But overall, what is the big thing that's tainting this right now in order to make it become a dynasty? Right,
It's just the rest of the competition.
is the competition that they face this year is definitely shouldn't be the competition next year. Like
the
this is the easiest it gets.
Yeah,
It's
and the
simple as that.
parity in the league in general, right?
Yeah.
This isn't when the Warriors were there, so
Like who knows? The Knicks could just load up, and they have the
Yeah.
potential to just load
they
up.
have the assets to
Right.
go trade for a big name if
They
if
really
someone
do,
is available.
right? They really do, and we don't know what the Pacers could do, right? They're a young squad. They could just-
OKC,
right? OKC on the other side, but let's focus on the East more.
yeah.
and because that's who they have to face.
Milwaukee,
Yeah,
as long
Milwaukee.
as Giannis is healthy.
Yeah, and Milwaukee.
Philly, as long as Embiid is healthy, which I know is a question mark of his career right now. in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
Philly just Embiid's being healthy is a big question mark.
Yeah.
It's like overall, this is the easiest it gets for the Celtics, so we can't really say clear cut they will become a dynasty.
And Miami has been their kryptonite when healthy.
That is true. That is true. But overall, they do have the full potential. I think this is the best out of all the teams. This is the best team that could be a
Yeah.
dynasty in the current NBA right now.
Yeah, because they are the most recent champions, so that helps. That
Yeah, no, but like overall squad wise,
for them,
like,
it's them or the Nuggets. Just put it that way, as of right now.
yeah, Nuggets definitely do have a shout too. But Nuggets losing Bruce Brown will probably hurt them a little bit.
Hey, you guys might have a team option picked up, and he might go back. So who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, depend. They might just trade him back, like
Yeah.
how the Celtics got Horford back.
Yeah.
Essentially, then kind of help them out too.
Yeah. So once again, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. I'm saying that.
Hate say that.
I hate saying that as a Laker fan,
really
but
hate
hey,
saying
well
that.
deserved, right? At the end of the day, one of the more dominant runs we had in recent memory for sure, and we'll see how it goes. Off season will obviously dictate a lot of stuff. But before we continue on to the Dallas Mavericks, and
Should we just? I know we don't talk about soccer much,
yeah,
but let's do a quick Euros prediction. We're not gonna go.
it's
like,
already
through-
underway.
It's already underway. We're not gonna go through everything, but we'll just say finals.
Let's go finals. But I want to say right now, out of the games you've seen so far, is the most impressive performance Spain's.
Yeah, just because they beat the best competition, but Germany did look good,
Yeah.
right? A bounce back of tournament for Germany could be big, especially playing at home, and that it's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be a tough final, right? It should
Yeah.
be two tough teams in the final.
So, okay, finals for me. Obviously, the easy answer is going to be France, right? Very easy. But
Ooh.
history shows they struggled in the Euros,
That is true.
at least recently, right? That being said, I love the way, I'm a Spain guy in general, and I love the way they performed that game. I was, teetering between them and Portugal because I think this is the best Portugal squad Ronaldo's had. At least in a
yeah.
long time. I don't know how when younger Ronaldo was
That
playing.
wasn't really great, man. It was all Ronaldo that time.
Like I'm talking about 04 when they made the final. I wasn't sure
Oh, yeah.
who was like I know Deco and Quaresma.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
everyone was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But Raul, I believe, was
Maybe.
Portuguese. Not Raul, sorry, Figo.
Figo,
Um,
Raul Morales was
yeah,
Portuguese.
yeah, no, Raul was Spanish.
yeah,
I'm going Spain. Will beat. We don't know how the brackets are gonna lay out.
yeah.
This is just on top of our head. I'm going Spain, and they'll beat the host Germany, and the host curse will continue. So Spain beats Germany for me, and
So, yeah.
this will kickstart their run once again, like they did in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
I am gonna go with.
Are you going boring?
I would do. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go a little bit different. I am putting Germany in the final.
Yeah,
I really liked how they played freaking game on. I know it was
yeah,
Scotland,
Scotland though.
but they have the home crowd with them. I'm put Portugal in the final.
Okay.
I don't know if that's possible or
Again,
not. But
we're
then
assuming bracket. We don't know on the top of our head because
Yeah,
third
no.
place matchups are in there as well.
yeah,
third
so
place
it,
team,
it
sorry.
depends on how they do. But
Yeah,
Portugal somehow scammed their way in winning the 2016 Euros in terms of like going to
Drawing
pens
every
and
game.
drawing every game. But they got the job done against France when Ronaldo went out, and now this is the best Portugal squad we've seen. The World Cup squad was pretty good too. And Germany, they got their young guys, going now, like Wirtz, Musiala. They were excellent in game one. And I think the winner would be Germany
okay. So you're going that way.
over Portugal.
Okay, so
Germany's
those are-
Germany's had Portugal's number too, quite a bit.
yeah,
As
Copa. So Copa predictions will happen in our NHL one. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys hit the
Let's spread out
subscribe
the
button
soccer.
and hit the post notification bell. And audio listeners, rate, review, and download when those podcasts come out as well.
Also, check out these 2 videos covering our faces right now. One will be the Tatum Luka one, and the other one could, I will say, Canadian rivalry, right? Can the Canucks and Oilers be the next Canadian rivalry? Other than that, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.